Hey folks, Hammeh here. A little bit of news for you. There is a brand new patch straight on the PTR and there are some interesting changes in it. Firstly, there are some little buffs and quality of life changes to the Shimada brothers, Genji and Hanzo. There's also a tweak or two, which are quite interesting for Orisa, Reaper and Reinhardt. And then there's a little bit of a tweak that maybe will make Soldier 76 drop away just a little bit and perhaps bring McCree back in a tad. As well as a bunch of general bug fixes and some nice little improvements too. Here we go, I'll quickly round them all up for you. Firstly, the changes to the Shimada brothers. Now for Genji, the attack cooldown has been removed from wall climb. Previously, or at the moment on live, when you climb a wall there is a very short delay before you can actually attack. Now, Genji can engage with enemies immediately after completing that climb. Dev reasoning, to make wall climbing feel better, it certainly does, it makes Genji feel that little bit more responsive, throwing out those shuriken, trying to do that swift strike and similar things. So for you nimble Genjis out there who like climbing off walls and throwing yourself around, this is going to help you get a few little shots off that a little bit more quickly. For Hanzo, well, his attack cooldown has also been removed from wall climb, which means he can actually engage immediately after completing a climb too. But that means that you can charge an arrow as Hanzo, as I'm doing here, run up a wall and then let it go straight afterwards. For the bow, well, charge speed has increased by 10%, so it charges more quickly. So Hanzo being able to charge his bow a bit more quickly gives him more overall damage and then lets him charge that arrow and then once he's unleashed it, return more quickly to full movement speed. So this means that previously as Hanzo you had to spend a lot of time drawing your bow, then standing around as a bit of a target before you could release it. With the wall climb change as well, it's pretty interesting because Hanzo can charge up a wall, jump off a wall and then kind of like in a Genji style, unleash a shot as well. So there are going to be some interesting little jump shot potentials with Hanzo too. Now, I'm not a very good Hanzo or a Genji player, but I'm sure that some skilled players will really enjoy these. What do you think of these? Are you going to enjoy that little bit more nimbleness as the Shimada brothers? Do let me know in the comments. Tank-wise, there are a couple of changes incoming too. Orisa is getting a cooldown reduction on her protective barrier, where Fusion Driver, her ultimate, is having its damage reduced by 15%. Dev comments, decreasing the cooldown for protective barrier means Orisa can help maintain the front line for her team that little bit better, and also helps her reposition the barrier more easily when needed. To compensate for that new defensive strength, the devs are reducing Fusion Driver's damage as they felt it was that little bit too high. Now I do get the feeling of that. Very occasionally when you've got an Orisa ult off in the right kind of team comp or with all of your team around you, the amount of damage you could shell out was incredibly intense. However, Orisa has always felt like this sort of Reinhardt kind of complementary tank. The developers have wanted something else as an option aside from Reinhardt. Now if you throw down an Orisa shield, even though it recharges reasonably quickly right now, if people focus it, it can get shredded pretty quick. And then Orisa's kind of just standing around hiding before she can actually throw another shield out, which doesn't feel like her purpose as a tank and this kind of barrier anchoring tank. So I can completely understand this protective barrier change. Let's see if maybe it feels a bit too much. If you do have a Reinhardt and Orisa throwing down barriers and alternating barriers in something like the Hanamura front choke, then that can feel a little bit oppressive. Also maybe the Volskaya Industries choke if people aren't flanking. So I think it's probably going to encourage people to flank around these a lot more, but that barrier change feels pretty good to me. As for Reinhardt, well, a bugbear of several people has been that Earthshatter when it lands can actually go up buildings and very, very high. The effective height as a result has been lowered from 3 meters to 2 meters, and the height threshold of objects that Earthshatter can actually go up has been lowered as well, making it less likely to climb tall objects as it crawls along the ground towards you. Dev reasoning for this, Earthshatter tended to climb unexpectedly high, frequently hitting targets that were significantly above the ground. These changes help make the ability stay more grounded. Well, Earthshatter, that makes sense. Often see a few gifs on Reddit of people getting a little bit annoyed that they were standing on top of a building or on top of something quite high, and then Earthshatter would take them out. So this makes a bit more sense. I think it's a nice little quality of life change. What do you reckon? Actually, a really interesting change incoming here to Reaper. Now, Wraith Form actually entirely refills ammo when it's used. Dev comments, Wraith Form is used as an escape ability after firing. It gives Reaper now a chance to fight if an enemy chases him down as he uses it. I actually really like this change. A lot of people have commented recently that Reaper does have his purpose in certain areas, but he's felt maybe a little bit less useful in some areas above, say, Soldier 76 or running other damage. I really, really like this one because I've already just tried it on the PTR and it does feel that, like with Reaper, you now know that if you have to Wraith Form to try and re-engage, you do have a chance of getting off a few shots. Typically speaking, you'd be unleashing your bullets as a Reaper. There wouldn't really be time to reload, and then you might try in Wraith form to try and get away. So this is quite an interesting one. I'd like to see if it means that Reaper is used a bit more than he is already. It certainly means that he has an additional little bit of dueling capability rather than just trying to Wraith in and perhaps use his ultimate, or maybe Wraith away and then try and survive as someone guns him down from behind. That happens quite often to me anyway. Last but not least, a little tweak to Soldier 76. Now, his bullet damage has been decreased from 20 to 19. That seems a small change, but his damage that he was shelling out recently has made 76, along with his self-heal and everything, his general utility, just a really, really solid pick. Almost a must pick to some people compared to similar roles. Now, for similar roles, of course, they're probably talking about McCree, who has become a little bit more, I'd say, a general pick, unless you're really, really nice at throwing out those headshots. It'd be interesting to see how much this affects Soldier's pick rate. He's pretty ubiquitous at the moment. I'm pretty sure we'll still see him around quite a bit, but in a few situations, this will mean the extra little shot of damage could make all the difference, or you'll have to land that extra shot in order to be able to finish off a few targets. So let's see if it tries to bring like McCree back in. Maybe this little change to Reaper will sort of juggle up the DPS that little bit. There's also a few other changes. A nice one for custom games, and that you can now disable secondary fire and secondary weapons in custom games to give you that little bit of extra option in trying to create things. And you can now also disable one Symmetra ultimate while leaving the other active. So I don't know, teleporters only, shield generators only mode? Get your imaginations going on that one. Also, a few different bug fixes. I'll pick out some of the ones that I found more interesting. This one is particularly cool. There are new kill feed icons for environmental kills and a number of abilities. So you can see resurrects in the kill feed now, and you can also see what kind of look like assists here as I'm showing. I quite like this, gives a nice little bit of extra flavour, and of course for esports that will also make what's going on that little bit clearer to people who maybe aren't familiar with the game or need to use the kill feed to help follow the action. Out of the random bugs at the end that are always quite funny, there's been one fix that prevented two charging Reinhardts from being able to kill each other. I've not seen that one in a little while. And an interesting one more like preventing Winston's primal rage ultimate from restoring his health when hit by Ana's biotic grenade. Now that's kind of an interesting one. Some of those kind of interactions I thought were intentional. So if you hit in Winston before he ults, then his total health would increase, but he wouldn't actually heal up to that amount of health because of the healing denial factor of Ana's biotic grenade. So this actually makes Winston's primal rage with an Ana around that little bit potentially better. I'm really going to be interested to try that one out. In fact, I think I'll jump on the PTR and tell it now. It has been a bugbear of mine that Anas have targeted me as I've been jumping around doing my monkey business. I know it's guerrilla business, but humour me here when I haven't been able to heal it up the full way. So that's really, really cool. As always, these changes are on the PTR on PC, so if you want to check them out, go and download the Overwatch PTR, give it a go. Do let me know what you think. Are you thinking that these changes to Genji and Hanzo are just going to be nice little tweaks? Do you think they're going to be something a little bit more major? What about these changes to Reaper and Soldier 76? Do you think that's actually going to shake up the damage dealing classes that people use, or is it still going to be a lot of Soldier, a lot of Pharah, and maybe a little bit of other things in certain situations? Love to hear your thoughts. Cheers for tuning in. Do check out all my other videos, my Overwatch lore and similar, in the playlists below. I'm working on a few voice line videos and things right now, as well as map lore, skin lore and more. You'll see some more of those before the end of the week. Throw a like or sub if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Really, really helps me out. And see you soon. I've been Hammeh. Take it easy.